Um, so I haven't read lots about the Tao, but I like Taoism because from the little that I've read about the Tao, it seems to say the same thing that lots of Eastern religions say. And so I got this book at the recommendation of Alan Watts, and I've started to read it, and I was going to read a little bit to you guys, just to emphasize my point that they're all saying the same thing, um, and to talk a little bit about it. Uh, this translation is pretty good. I haven't finished it all, but I'm almost done. And it's by Gia-fu Feng. I don't know if I'm saying that in Jane English. So if you're looking for a translation, this is a good one. Translations are very important because translations are interpretations of interpretations, where the author's original interpretation is a view of some reality, whether or not it's fictional or whatever. Um, and the translation is then an interpretation of the author's work. So the translation interpretation can sometimes be way off from what the author was trying to say, or way on. And you really see this in poetry, which this is pretty much poetry. So this is hard to do. And I just want to give credit where credit's due, because I'm gonna read some of their work. I'm gonna read a small section of it, so I'm gonna call it fair use. But if for some reason this video gets taken down, I'm fine with it. Um, but why I like the Tao, um, from what I understand of it, I don't have a guru. I'm not trying to be anyone's guru, so I'm just trying to share the knowledge that I have. Um, but I don't have. No one taught me this shit. This was just me reading stuff, so I could be totally off. I'm not traditional in any sense. I didn't go to. They always say, like in Buddhism, you're supposed to have it passed down generation to generation. I didn't get those teachings. I read it in a book. Um, but I think that the Western world could really use what the East has found. Um, the Dalai Lama always says that he really fucked up, like, because right now he doesn't have Tibet. China has Tibet. Um, but he said in some speeches that I've read, that he had wished, now looking back, that Tibet had uh, worked on increasing their technological production, and so that they could defend themselves and also be considered a, like, generate wealth and stuff. You can't really generate wealth with oneness, although it's a cool thing. But where he says the West has gone wrong is they've done the exact opposite. We have put production above mindfulness and happiness and all of these things. Spirituality even has been ripped away by science. Religion and science are all trying to say the same thing. Einstein was a devoutly religious person, not of an organized religion, but of pantheism, which is what I am. Uh, you don't have to be in an organized religion to be devoutly religious. You might have to be in an organized religion to be whatever that fucking word is. I was gonna say copacetic, but that's not the word. Um, like piety. Is that the right word? Piety. Uh, no, I don't think piety's the right word. All I'm trying to say is, like, you know what Protestants are when they, like, have all these rules. I think it's the Protestants. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to, like, have a rule book, you need to be of an organized religion, but that's not what religion is about. Um, it's about this truth that I'm about to read to you. But why I like Taoism versus uh, Buddhism is in Hinduism, which Buddhism came from Hinduism, is Taoism and Zen, which I think Tao informs, really makes this distinction between the impermanent and the permanent, where we are the impermanent and the permanent is just the Tao or the harmony of the universe. That's the permanent. Where in Hinduism, there's not a delineation between the two because the impermanent is the permanent. Um, we're all one. So it just explains it as Brahman, and then there's like a distinction between the Brahman and the self, which is Atman, versus Brahman. But there's really no distinction between the impermanent and the permanent, whereas we're impermanent and the permanent is the energy of the universe. So that's what I really like about the Tao, because that's the permanent thing that pervades us and that we are, but our bodies, what we identify as ourself, is merely an impermanent illusion. It's it's mu, Zen nothingness. That's why I made up the pronouns muse, mune, because that's my new pronouns. It's Zen nothingness made into pronouns. I really like it. Anyway, the purpose of this is to read some of this, so I'm gonna try to get to that. Um, this is number 10. Carrying body and soul and embracing the one, can you avoid separation? Attending fully and becoming supple, can you be as a newborn babe, wishing and cleansing the primal vision? Can you be without stain, loving the people and ruling the country? Can you be without cleverness, opening and closing the gates of heaven? Can you play the role of woman? Understanding and being open to all things, are you able to do nothing, giving birth and nourishing, bearing yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit, leading yet not dominating? This is the primal virtue. Um, so that basically says if you embrace the one and avoid the illusion of separation, you'll see clearly. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Um, let me see. Oh, this is good. This is in line with what Alan Watts says a lot. It's 22. Yield and overcome, bend and be straight, empty and be full, wear out and be new, have little and gain, have much and be confused. Therefore, the wise embrace the one and set an example to all, not putting on a display. They shine forth, not justifying themselves. They are distinguished, not boasting. They receive recognition, not bragging. They never falter. They do not quarrel. So no one quarrels with them. Therefore, the ancients say, yield and overcome. Is that an empty saying? Be truly whole, and all things will come to you. So how Alan Watts always explains this is with statics and bridge dynamics is bridges have to have a give, otherwise they'll crumble. So you have to like yield. You can't just be firm, otherwise you're gonna die. Um, just reading this, I've realized that it said like wear out and be new. Um, I used to be really into the concept of ego death, which I'm not really into anymore because I kind of consider my ego dead. I never resurrected it, pretty much. Which people obviously still put an ego on me because they need a way to make sense of what this entity is across time, and this entity will eventually perish, and you need an ego to make sense of society, etc. But how I used to view ego death is I would kill my ego every morning. Like if I make mistakes, I just admit to them. I'm not really insistent on keeping the present ego alive, but getting a better one the next day. So, that's what I always like. If people get really protective over their ego and their identity, But if you are willing to let that go, you get a better identity. So if you would like to kill your ego and just start new, I fully support it. If you stop trying to survive, it's going to be easier to survive. Says the guy that doesn't have to worry about money. Anyway, that may have been a privileged perspective that I just shared, but you can try it. This is 32. I really like this one. The Tao is forever undefined, small through it though it is. In the unformed state, it cannot be grasped. If leaders could harness it, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would come together, and gentle rain fall. People would no longer need laws, and all things would take their course. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. We need to know when to stop. Knowing when to stop averts trouble. Tao in the world is like a flowing river, a river flowing home to the sea. I really like this one for two reasons. One, because it says that the 10,000 things, which is us when we see parts, versus the Tao, would naturally obey if we could come to the realization that all that really is the Tao. Because we would realize that we need to work in harmony and care for everyone because we're all of the same source, I guess. Um, and it's really like the Vedas in this sense. I think it's the Vedas. I haven't read the Vedas, but I get this from Alan Watts. Apparently, there's some passage in some Hindu text that says eventually we'll all realize that our true self and we'll dance in harmony. And that's what I really think not having laws and just letting things take their course would look like when we dance in harmony. That's part of the reason why I'm an anarchist. The other part of the reason why I'm an anarchist is I think we really have to like be more open to change. Our current structures really it doesn't bend like I just said, so it doesn't do anything anymore. They don't really pass many laws. It's mostly just like social media wars is what our politics has turned into. So basically why I say I'm an anarchist is I think we should destroy, like, have new founding fathers every once in a while. The reason why you need to like rebuild is because if you keep a structure static for long enough, then the people who want to exploit that structure are going to figure out your loopholes. The only way to get around that is to just make the structure bendy, because then they can't loophole it as easily. Anyway, that's my opinion. I don't know how easy it would be to implement. I'm a theoretical perspective, man. I'm not going to be a politician. Anyway, the second part of this is that once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There's this Zen cone, which I really like because it took me forever to realize the meaning of the Zen cone. But there's a Zen cone that says, the barbarian has no beard. The barbarian has no beard because if you only see the whole, there is no barbarian and there is no beard. The barbarian only has a beard when you give it the name of a beard and a barbarian. Otherwise, it's just all the Tao or Brahmin, and there is no barbarian and there is no beard. That's just an illusion of the multiplicity of things. So that's what I really like about the second passage in this is that once the whole is divided, the parts need names. You see the parts, and therefore you have to name them and classify them and categorize them. But really, it's just all one thing, and you just can't see that because of your relative perspective of the universe. So yeah, anyway, that's the Tao. Like I said, I wasn't taught by anyone. I'm not trying to be a guru. This is just me reading some poetry and telling you guys how I feel about